Ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Del co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It happens, excuse me, every so often that we have this, well, what we call a magical moment where we don't have a guest that's on the schedule. So we get to talk about whatever comes to mind, a stream of consciousness kind of episode. And it tends to be pretty profound because we get to be with what's here, we get to be with what's relevant, we get to be with what's present. And the same thing occurs that if you have something, hey, Garrett, if you have something that you want to talk about in the chat, just let us know. And we can take it there. So, hey, how are you doing? Get comfortable, get adjusted. There we go. And I will start us off. And that is that one of my friends said this phrase that is the universe, the same place that you give is not necessarily the same place that you receive when it comes to the universe. So let's say, like, for instance, I decided that I wanted to do like a fundraiser for like a charity or something like that. And, you know, the energy that we put out into the universe is the energy that comes back. So maybe there's this like grand gesture of kindness that just happens to come back, but it's not through the same charity that I gave to. Maybe it's through like my mom just deciding that she just wants to randomly cook. And these two instances of events, they could be related, the giving and the receiving, and they could not be related. And what I started thinking about is like, how does that pertain to the law of attraction and what Abraham Hicks or even like a book like The Secret or something like that would have to say about that? And when I took those two things into context and looked at them together, there was a surprising alignment. And the surprising alignment that I saw was that Abraham Hicks, for instance, she says there's like 4 or 5 different steps to manifestation. And one of the important steps to manifestation is letting go. I mean, David Hawkins, I think that's his name, like wrote a whole book about letting go. So when letting go of something, I feel like that's the alchemy that happens between it being something that's wanted and something that is possessed. And I also think that it's the difference between the channel in which it comes through into fruition, like into coming into reality. Like it goes from a thought of, just like generosity. And generosity comes into this realm as me giving. And then generosity is continued to be spread through, the channels and the ethers as giving and receiving, right? Peter says, is what you're talking about similar to the universal consciousness? I'm a rookie at all of this. I wonder if it is similar, Peter. Thank you for asking. Universal consciousness. I haven't heard about anything like a law of universal consciousness, but from what you're saying, like the essence of it, I think that it could all be the same thing. Just like how it is that we're like giving and receiving, and that it doesn't have to happen in the same place, but it could very well come back. So here's another example, is that there was something that I had asked for, like in my intentions at the beginning of the week. And what I found out is that today I got an invitation to do something along those lines, but it didn't come from the place that I expected it to. But I recognize it as the same core thing. And that's what got me really thinking about this subject. So it has me thinking, I wonder how much of everything that I've been asking for is actually already here and I just don't realize it. Like this could be like Christmas, like there's like stuff all over the place, but I just may not have the perspective or lens to see it at that moment. So this has me getting really curious about the present. Like, how much can I just look around and just see what I've been asking for, like as it already being here? And that has me really excited too. Just really excited about the present moment. Like if I can recall the intentions and the things that I had been asking for and just literally tune into that vibration and see the things, like that to me is like the collapsing of like 3 of the Abraham Hicks steps, because it doesn't have to like arrive. It's just already here. And I wonder if that translates into being as well. There's no gotta learn, gotta expand, gotta clear, gotta heal. If I can just be in that space already right now, then does the world bend to that? Or my perception, or that could very well be the same thing. So I'm curious what y'all think. Do you think that this whole like manifestation thing, and or just literally living the life that you want to live, think it could be even simpler than it's been portrayed by law of attraction or any of the other sources, like Peter was saying, universal consciousness, which the more that I say that phrase, Peter, the more it sounds like exactly what this is. And hello to all the people who are joining the live stream. Hey, Marvin. Welcome. So we're talking about manifestation and living the life that you want to live, being the person that you want to be, and just making all of that even easier, even simpler. I'm sure that it doesn't have to be as complicated as it may seem at sometimes, based on the ways that it's been portrayed in different outlets. Maybe we can come together and make it even simpler right in this moment by just being present to it. So what's funny is that yesterday I was literally reading something and I thought that I read it wrong. And it was just like the way that I was thinking. It was like think I was thinking about like candy or something like that. I went out and bought some candy. And I thought that the word on the paper said like sweet, but it was just because I was thinking about candy. But I wonder, by me reading it that way, like in my reality, it was that way. Like that's what the word said, right? And then I went back and I read it again and it was something else. But is there a difference between reality and your perception of it? Is what I'm getting at. I'm starting to think no. I'm starting to think that it's all exactly the same. I'm starting to think that there's some real magic going on here. Marvin says, I manifest by acting like I got it, like that. I got it like that already. Got it. I say, thank you for letting me have the opportunity to take part and change the world. Change the world. That's huge. Thank you for having me and my family abundant, happy, and healthy. I speak it out to the universe as if it already happened. Yeah. There's like this phrase of like quantum leaping or quantum jumping. And it could be just as easy as just being there. And if that's the case, then was there even a leap or a jump? It just kind of is. Or changing timelines. Is there actually one timeline and another? Or is it just literally the trajectory that you're on and that's it? Marvin, I see the claps. Thank you. Those claps are for you too. And the exploration continues to be over here. This is what I'm exploring. How much easier can it get? This eliminates the thinking about where one is in comparison to another timeline or another place or another point of being. This creates the opportunity to literally just be here. And maybe even know deeply that there is nothing else. There's just the here and now. And as I say that, that means letting go of everything else, like all the stories, all the narrative, all the history, all of the quote unquote intelligence about emotions, about the way that the world works and the way that the brain works, just to be here in this moment. Like, it's like getting on an airplane with no baggage, no bags, just going for the ride. Maybe even not even knowing where the airplane is going. What would that be like? And at the same time, I guess being prepared or not doesn't really matter in the present moment because you're just here. Would you get on an airplane with no bags and no set destination? I'm so curious. What would that be like for you? Because that's what life feels like right now. I guess that has this be true to the name of the episode, which is Magical Moment. Because it's like, that's all there is. Moment and the magic inside of it. Now that's really simple. I could dig that. And what I feel like comes with being present is dealing with all of the things that comes up around that. Like, oh my gosh, I have to let go of who I've been. Well, Joe Dispenza wrote that book, Breaking the Habit of Who You, what is the name of the book? Breaking the Habit of Being Who You Are. Something like that. Garrett, you may know the name of the book, of Being Yourself. Who is that? Is that evolving, or is that something that you decided is fixed? Does it matter if we decide or not, if it's fixed or evolving? The questions could literally go on and on forever. Peter says, I have no idea yet lately on a very simple thing of remembering. I say to myself, let that ride on my brain for a bit. And sure enough, I hear in a voice the word I've either forgotten or the spelling. Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it comes back, right? It comes back when it comes back. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. Peter said, as long as I had my toothbrush. Marvin says, we take the moments when we die. Interesting, nothing else. Marvin, can you expand on that? That is so interesting. Because like the cliche phrase, like we can't take any of this when we go. And what you're saying has me like intrigued. Peter's got the upside down smiley face. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Marvin. Detachment. Yes, yes, yes. I say thank you for the spiritual retreat center I want. I already am grateful for it. Got it. So you are, okay. This is now I have questions for you, right? Does that mean that that the part where it's being called in is being bypassed? Like, or that it just doesn't exist in the process that you're taking part in terms of manifestation? Because like, I hear, oh, I'm calling this in. And is like, can that step be taking care of the contrast? Because the calling in part, it could be an emotional process, because the universe doesn't necessarily hear what we say. It vibes with who we're being. So if I'm being that it's already done, like you're saying, then that makes sense that the universe would be able to vibe with that. There's so much in this like process, and at the same time it's like just stepping from one point in reality to the other, which is actually the same point. There's just now. So maybe all of that process. Marvin says, can't beat someone never willing to give up. Good point. Really good point. So maybe that process is like the mental one. Maybe the process, like the 5 steps from Abraham, or the 17 steps from the law of attraction, maybe that's to help guide the mind to just follow what the spirit and the body are already doing. Maybe it's just a nice fluffy way to bring the mind along. Marvin said, I don't know the words, I can't. Right. I just say, I need help. Some person on this earth can guide me if I don't know. Absolutely. There's help too. Dang. It's like, it's all really just one step. And on top of it, there's help if you need it. Like, that's a good deal. We've really got the tools, the resources to just make magic and be magical. Yeah. What a gift. What a gift. Right. Thanks, Marvin. I trust in spirit. I'm so grateful. That is magic. Yes. So then the next thing is, well, what to create? Marvin's already got the roster filled up. Like, you've got the happy and healthy and abundant family. Awesome. You've got the retreat center, which is here. It's already done. It's already been done. It's perfect. So you're in it. You're on it. And Peter, I'm still pondering over universal consciousness. I'm just going to go with my intuition. Because universal could be everything, like the infinite universe. And consciousness is the awareness of that. So perhaps it's just talking about the awareness that it's all infinite. That's my amateur breakdown. Peter said, me too. Oh, yes. Marvin says, help the children everywhere. That's a big goal I want in life. You know, it also takes like courage, Marvin. Like, it takes courage to dream, because it could easily be like, oh yeah, there's this opportunity to create whatever I want, but I'm just going to sit here and watch what's already been created. So that's the action. That's the seed in the ground. That's the drop in the water. Having the courage to dream and to ask. And it is interesting, the dance between being content and satisfied and the dance of asking for whatever it is that's wanted. Right, the seed. Thanks, Marvin. The children can change our world and future. I believe that wholeheartedly. I love them to change the world. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Thank you, Peter. That is Joe Dispenza's book, How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself. It says how to lose your mind and create a new one. There we go. There was a post that I did not that long ago that said, losing touch with reality was the best thing that I've ever done. I think that that's along the same lines. There's a teacher, Kyle Cease. He says that if someone says that, oh, I'm my life is falling apart, he's like, why would you try to keep it together? Disconnect to reconnect, Marvin. Nice. Disconnect to reconnect. That's the question, right? What's the difference between disconnection and detachment? To be disconnected and to be detached. I mean, there's got to be two different words for a reason. Maybe they do mean the same thing. Maybe not. I'm curious what y'all have to say about that. Peter says, sounds like a reboot. Yeah, so there's another word, unplug. Oh, restart, unplug, disconnect. What are the other words? Detach. Are they all the same thing? Trust. Why do all of these words sound like the same thing now? Maybe they are. Marvin says, disconnect. I feel short time detachment for a longer period. I feel, oh, okay. So disconnect is short time. Detachment can be for a longer period of time. Got it. Got it. I think also I could feel into maybe disconnecting being the action and detached being the state, like the state of being. It could go either way. This is a really, really interesting. Oh, that's a good one. Marvin says it's self-love for the soul. That sounds like another Jack Canfield book. Chicken soup for the soul. It's self-love for the soul. Everything in balance is a gift. Mm-hmm. Right. So if we ponder the phrase that you put out here, Marvin, it's self-love for the soul, right? And that is to, what we're talking about, disconnect or detach. It's like if you have an energy source and you disconnect from it for a moment, then what is the device? What is the circuit doing? Trusting. That's interesting how we say unplug to recharge. But in most cases, we charge in things we plug in things in order to charge them. But as human beings, we say that we want to unplug in order to recharge. It's an interesting dynamic there. And everything in balance is a gift. What kinds of things to experience and balance in that way, Marvin? I'm curious. Because like we were just talking about with recharging and having the circuitry rest from being plugged in or plugging back in order to connect to spirit, it's like these terms now it's like they're almost starting to lose the certainty of their meaning by being used in the opposite ways. And at the same time, we're the meaning makers. So we could just use different words to mean the same thing. Do we unplug to recharge? Or do we connect to recharge? And all of this from just one simple question of asking for the simplification of manifestation. Marvin says we live to impulsively. always on the go. Our soul is screaming for us to be mindful, living in the moment. Right. And do we have a choice? Can we live in another moment? Can we live in something other than now? And if so, what does that look like? I understand that, we may have things like remembrances, we may have things like memories, we may have things like narratives that are running or programs that are running, but they still run in the present moment. Even if they're related to the past or the future. So being that they're occurring in the moment, Marvin, you brought up a really important word, and that is mindful. Are we aware that that's what's going on? And that brings us back to Peter's phrase, which was universal consciousness. Yeah, it's all universal, infinite, et cetera, but are we consciously aware of it? All of these things that are going on inside internally, are we aware that they're occurring in the present moment? Like, are we with it in the present moment? Marvin says, yes, we can live in an altered universe. It's important to honor our human moment in this vessel. So we've got the here, we've got the now, and then there's the being part of it. Because it's not just here and now, it's be here now. So when we associate the being with it, that's kind of what has it come alive as us. That's what no longer has it be conceptual. Oh yeah, over here. Oh yeah, be in the now. And if you take any one of those words away, it kind of loses the triangulation that it creates in time and space. Because if it's just here and now, then there's no perspective or perception to go along with it. If it's just be now, then we lose a sense of place. And if it's just be here, it could be occurring anywhere along the time continuum. But the be here now is something very specific. Something specific that we can use to let the universe know where to send our gifts. And all the Abraham things that we can listen to on YouTube, like 9 out of 10 of them has someone coming up to their microphone and is like, where's my stuff? Addressing the vortex in Abraham speak or the universe or what have you. Like, where's my stuff? And the way that you let the higher power of your understanding or source or the terminology that you would like to use, the way that we let the universe know where to send it is by being here now and receiving it there, like Marvin was saying, being in the frequency of it already having been done. And if we want to get really technical, one of the ways that we can do that is by feeling. Feeling is like throwing up a flare. It's like being in the middle of this ocean of consciousness and throwing up a flare, shooting a flare so that your gifts can be dropped down. or they can be sent to you, or they can send the universal drone and deliver it to you. So by feeling what you feel, that's going to determine your experience of it. So absolutely, you can ask for a bunch of things. You can ask for $1 million, do the whole triangulation thing, right? By being here now, being present, being mindful, doing the whole vigilant thing and watching it arrive. And at the same time, what will be your experience of it as it arrives? And if you're in a state of anger or happiness, then it can reach you in that state. It's not the thing. You're living a life. Life is an experience. So what experience do you want to have when these things that you're asking for is on the way? And by the way, they're always on the way, whether you realize it or not. So might as well check in on your experience. Ah, there we go. Marvin, got it. Applause, applause. Yes, us. And be grateful for being here and now, right? God gave us all the magic in us. We're here to help each other remember our magic. Right. Because in this moment, it's sounding really good, right? Be here now, craft our experience, and we get to help others remember too. It's like bonus on top of bonus on top of bonus. And then the gratitude just compounds, like you're saying, Marvin, which just continues to create an even better experience, which just permeates throughout the whole entire process and begets the next step and begets the next step and begets the next step. So what you're saying is so important. Being present to the magic and being grateful. And that's it. Talk about simplification. Not only have we so far covered how we can simplify the process of manifestation, but also how you can kind of like set it and forget it. You remember those like crock pots from back in the day? I think it was, oh no, yeah, it was like a crock pot or something like that, or Instapot or whatever it's called these days. But you literally just put in all the ingredients and you set the timer and then you just forget about it. Like that's what this process can be. All of the mentality about it is a choice. And that can be a nice experience too, if you choose. And there's just a way to just have, be, and do whatever it is that you want. So thank you. Thank you for co-creating the simplification. Because this is huge. Marvin says it's definitely in a time to be of service. Right. We learn by helping others. That is so true. We can absorb and listen to all of the information in the world. And it's that moment where we tell someone about it, where we decide that we want to teach our flavor of it, that it really becomes ingrained in our brain. It's like we were wired to connect with people. Like that's what we're made for, maybe even. So much so that the information that we receive is better retained when we teach it. It sounds like purpose. That sounds like an internally created resource. So imagine that the more you teach, the more you retain, which makes sense, right? Because then that gives you a reason to retain it, because you're going to be teaching more. That sounds like a really intelligently created system. Marvin says, we are in new age of spirituality. Vocation. It's an invitation to serve God in a special way. That's really interesting. I've heard the word vocation, but I've never heard it like defined or explained. And the way that you've explained it here, an invitation to serve God in a special way, that definitely has some resonance to it. And also look at the origin of the word. We've got invitation and vocation. They're pretty closely related too. Maybe vocation could be an invitation to someone to hear your voice. Maybe it's an invitation through your voice to inspire someone else into action. There's like so many possibilities here. And the point also can be that you're moving someone. You're moving someone either internally, like I'm moved, or you could be moving them into action on something that they care deeply about. And it all comes from teaching. And we know that teaching can come through voice, and it can also come through your own actions. Being observed by someone who just happens to be living in a reality that is a reflection of yours. Marvin says, we all have a profession and a vocation, both divinely guided and in the right frequency. I got that. Right. It's all alignment. Not as in alignment as something to be done, but as an alignment, as a reflection of what already is. These things are aligned. Teaching and retaining information are just aligned with each other. So not something that anyone had to do. Like, oh my goodness, I'm getting ready to teach something. I need to X, Y, and Z. If they're already built to teach it. If the universe has already given them the experience to share, and there's nothing that has to be done. And let's say that that person wanted to teach on a subject that wasn't already known to them. Like they just wanted to maybe expand their own horizons and touch and impact some people that they've never impacted before. Then the universe is either going to give them some experiences where they can derive some more information in order to impact that very special population. Or perhaps they'll come across an opportunity where they can pursue those studies. And yeah, that could take a little bit of action. And both options are available. Both and. You can get the experiences and you can get the opportunities to do something like open up a book or attend a class or be in a workshop or speak on a podcast. But all of it is self-sufficient. It's continuing in that same system of, okay, you're going to teach, I'm going to give you the experience so that you can continue to teach, so that I can continue to give you the experiences. Thanks for the hearts. Marvin says, I see you. Thank you for doing God's work. It's beautiful. Wow. Thanks for the hearts. Teaching creates a ripple effect to the masses. Same to you. And I totally receive that. Just like we're saying, it's what we're built to do. When your creator creates you in a particular way, and by the way, we're creating ourselves in every moment. So it's a decision. Do I want to be of service in this way? And Marvin, you're building a beautiful community where you exemplify these things that you've experienced. So this ripple effect that's being created, even though it can be looked at as making waves, just like you're saying, Marvin, it's also already done. It's already done because that seed of potential was planted within you. So what is left to do? Just to be. Just to be. Right. There goes those emojis again. We're going around in these like, it's like we're going around in these like circles of revelation, but at the same time, every time we come back to the same point, it's like it just got deeper and more expansive. And that's like life. Have you ever been in a situation where it's like, oh yeah, I know how to handle this? And maybe deciding to look at it newly. Maybe coming at it with what we call a student's perspective. Looking at that situation like you've never been there before. And then at the same time, when being in the midst of the action, being like, oh yeah, I remember how. Or, oh yeah, I remember this feeling. Or, oh yeah, I do know that I got this. Marvin says, we're just remembering and laughing. Lots of that. Emphasis on the laughing for me, please. And sometimes they're the same thing. Literally, to me, laughing is expansion. Personally, I also believe that crying is expansion. And remembering is expansion. Because the state at which we remember something is not the state at which it was created. So if you remember something, it's like you're bringing the information through a channel and a different point of triangulation. But at the same time, it's always the same point. Ah, these circles, these are good. Marvin says, laughing for me is divinely guided by Archangel Raphael. He is the angel of healing. Right. Laughing can totally be healing. He leads from the heart chakra. Divinely guided by Archangel Raphael. Anything you want to say on that? In the hardest times, laugh with someone. Right. Is that transmutation? It's one of the ways that it could be seen. Transmutation. We've got a lot of fancy words that we can throw in there. Alchemy. There's many people that speak of the violet flame. That's Saint Germain. Peter says that's very true. And I got a yes from Marvin. Right. So being able to alchemize or transmute or literally just shift in that moment without any apparent impetus too. It's just like being able to walk down the street and like just start laughing or cracking up for no reason. I mean, there's also stories of spontaneous crying, right? In the realm of the animal kingdom, we've got, like zebras and dogs and lions that just all of a sudden they start like, they do that little shake thing. A lot of times the dogs do it when they come in from the rain or something like that, and you'll see them like do the shake thing. But also that is a nervous system response. Laughing can also be seen as a defense mechanism. But when we talk about it, like we're just saying in terms of the animal kingdom, these are animals who are literally just regulating their nervous system. There's a book that's called Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it's about this somatic experience and so much more. Is that we can literally just allow our nervous systems to regulate with a cry, with a laugh, with a yell, a nice primal scream, to get everything back into balance, like Marvin was saying, without the mental process. The mental process is not always necessary. Like sometimes if we want to clear a belief or change our narrative and, literally pick up generate a new story, create a new story, the mental process is not always necessary. However, the nervous system, which was wired for the previous story, that also gets to shift. And that may be through one of those things that we talked about, a shake or a laugh or a cry or a shiver. Marvin says, anything in balance is a gift. I got that. A smile. That's a good one. Yeah. All of these things are to bring us into balance in one way or another, wherever our attention is focused. So if we're focused on balance in the holistic sense, then we've got somatic resources to help us do that. Including laughing. Laughing can be extremely healing. And not just for the person who's doing it, even for the person who's observing. Even for the person who's hearing it and picking up on that vibration. And all of these tools, we didn't have to consciously create. They're just there for us to use. They are here for us to use as we choose. Oh, there you go, Peter. Why zebras don't get ulcers. The acclaimed guide to stress-related diseases, and coping. Exactly. Exactly. So coming back around to planting seeds of the state that we're in, whether it be happiness or peace. We just went through a round of discovering the tools that we have to help us maintain that state. Marvin says, I want to be the best medium I can be. Ooh. On my journey, it's vital to learn balance to channel best. It's not clear if I'm unaligned. That's pretty awesome. That is so cool. Love to know more about your journey and how you've experienced that. There's a teacher that I was interacting with. Her name is Dawn Marie Delahunt, and you can find her on Facebook. And she's often in this group too. And she was my mediumship teacher. And one of the amazing tools that she gave us for being a clear channel is forgiveness. So I love that you're bringing that up, because this allows us the opportunity to explore another tool that's available, because we just got finished talking about laughter, crying, the various methods of expansion, and forgiveness. And that Ho'oponopono prayer, the I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, of course, done in the cadence with your own emotional intelligence, is extremely powerful in allowing a person to regulate their nervous system and sync it up with their brain and heart coherence. Because as you're saying those words, which is what the brain gets present to, you're also feeling the words, which is what your heart is present to. And the two of them together is what stewards the nervous system. So there's so much that's available in terms of regulation. And all of that clears the space for magic to happen. And when I say space, I use that term loosely because we are magic. Marvin says, sure, anytime. I had a near-death experience and woke up differently. I feel I'm here now to serve collective consciousness. Got it. Yeah. An NDE. That is something. That's like a whole episode. That is a whole episode, Marvin. And thank you for sharing. That is quite special. Right. Okay. This has been quite the magical moment. And FYI, you are greatly appreciated for being here and co-creating the conversation. We've got some really special things coming up, and I'm going to let you know what they are. You're welcome, Peter. And even if they don't appeal to you, please feel free to let people know in your network who could benefit from some of these things. And eventually you'll see the event listings in the Facebook group, because Marvin, Peter, Garrett, everyone that was here today, these conversations are awesome. And we get to take some action into really making the kind of change that we want to see in our lives. And so we put together some really special things to address that. So one of the things that's coming up is our second intentional dating workshop. And that's going to be on Friday, March 4th. And that's literally about how we can cultivate our conscious awareness so that we can really be present to the love that is already here. The love that is already here. You're welcome, Marvin. Grateful for you. Thank you so much for sharing too. Appreciate you. An intentional dating can happen as a single person. There's also an opportunity when you're in a relationship to just intentionally be there. This particular event is going to be for singles. And also we have another special space called Conscious Relationships, which is for couples. So following that workshop on the 4th, we're going to have spiritual speed dating, and that's going to be on the 11th. So all of the things that you learn on the 4th of March, you get to put into practice on March 11th. And you get to be in the virtual room with people to practice this intentional dating. And that's going to be really interesting with the speedy environment. So lots to learn, lots of fun. And it's an experience to be had. So feel free to join us. Again, the events will be posted in the group. Thank you again, Marvin, for sharing. Thank you, Peter and Garrett, for being here. And we'll see you there. Stay magical.